This was Charlton's first game at this level in almost 3 decades, and they'd never met Wycombe in the league. Veteran defender Christian Daly opened the scoring on his debut for Charlton, and within a couple of minutes it was 2-0. The Addicks top scorer last season, Nicky Bailey, doubling the home side's lead. Charlton seemingly cruising. But the visitors, 2 divisions below their opponents this time last year, halved the deficit shortly before the break. Chris Zabrowski's header putting Wycombe back into contention. On 50 minutes, the 2-goal lead was restored by another debutant. Miguel Lira started his career in Spain with Recreativo. After a detour through Milton Keynes, he's now proving popular in southeast London. But Wycombe and Zabrowski in particular weren't finished. The former Millwall striker made it 3-2 with 17 minutes left. Some late nail-biting for Charlton, but they held on.
After losing Fabian Delph to Aston Villa, the importance of keeping Jermaine Beckford has never been higher for Leeds. 34 goals last season, and off the mark just 30 minutes into this one. A wonderful finish. The summer hasn't interrupted his eye for goal. Exeter's job became much harder after half-time. Striker Barry Corr sent off for hitting Michael Doyle. A needless red card, leaving his team with a mountain to climb. But after 2 successive promotions, Exeter have their fair share of quality too. Alex Russell's equaliser on 73 minutes, quite brilliant. It was almost enough for a point. That was until Beckford Huhouse scored the winner 2 minutes from time. The only downside for Leeds, the transfer window is still open.
There was no fairy tale return to Milton Keynes for manager Paul Ince, his Dons and Hartlepool effectively cancelling each other out. Jason Punchen's free kick was the closest either side came to a goal. Both seemed happy to settle for a point.
Walsall are fast becoming Brighton's bogey team. Last season they won at Withdean despite playing for an hour with just 9 men. This time they clinched the points thanks to a dreadful misunderstanding at the back. Andy Wing heading past his own keeper. Brighton dominated the second half but just couldn't find an end product. This miss from Nicky Forster summed up their day.
Leyton Orient's 6-1 thrashing of Newcastle in pre-season has raised hopes in the East End, and they looked impressive against Bristol Rovers. JJ Melligan putting the ball past Rovers keeper Fraser Foster, who just happens to be on loan from Newcastle. But a minute before half-time, Rovers were level. Ricky Lambert scored 29 league goals last season. He might get another 29 this year if he's given this much space. O's boss Geraint Williams managed to convince Chelsea to release Jimmy Smith on a permanent basis after he spent last season on loan, and Smith repaid that faith with the winning goal. Orient might be worth keeping an eye on.
Brentford, so consistent on their way to the League Two title last season, had a long but very fruitful journey to Carlisle. The Cumbrians, who narrowly avoided relegation in May, were soon in trouble. Miles Weston heading the Bees in front. But where last season Brentford's opponents might have crumbled, Carlisle came back strongly, and Sam Saunders' raised arms proved costly. Ian Hart made full use of the spot kick. Weston, though, wasn't finished. He spent the past few weeks maintaining he had no regrets over leaving Notts County just before Sven and all that cash arrived. After embarrassing Carlisle's new keeper Lenny Pidgley, it was clear he settled quickly. Pidgley didn't have his best day, though his teammates must surely take the majority of the blame for Brentford's third. Sam Wood on target as the London club maintained the considerable momentum built up at the end of last season.
It was an early kick-off down at the Priestfield, and Gillingham were quickly out of the blocks against visitors Swindon. They went 1-0 up after a good move was finished off by Mark Bentley, the first goal in the Football League this season. Gillingham, of course, came up via the League Two playoffs, beating Shrewsbury at Wembley with a goal from Simeon Jackson, and he was keen to carry on where he left off to put the Gills 2 up early in the second half. Gillingham coach Mark Stimson says consolidation is the aim this season. He might want to revise that after his injury hit side effectively wrapped things up on 72 minutes. Adam Miller with the header. And there was more to come. 5 minutes from time it was 4. Jackson with his second of the game, a solo effort of genuine quality from the Canadian international. And there was still time for Gillingham to get a fifth and for Jackson to complete his first hat-trick for the club since his arrival in January. A wonderful start for the Gills, but Swindon boss Danny Wilson might have his work cut out this year.
It's safe to say beginning the season in administration with their talented squad torn apart isn't the best base for Stockport to build on. So picking up a point at Boundary Park wasn't a bad start. The star of the show for new manager Gary Ablett was undoubtedly goalkeeper Owen Fon-Williams, who time and again kept Oldham at bay. All too familiar for the Latics, who last won at home back in February.
Southend and Huddersfield just missed out on the playoffs last season, so both embark on the new campaign with optimism. Huddersfield are among the bookies' favourites, but it was the Shrimpers who were on the score sheet first after they were awarded a penalty when Anthony Grant was held back by Robbie Williams. Lee Barnard duly sent the keeper the wrong way. 1-0 Southend. Into the second half, and the home side went further ahead thanks to a goal from Belgian Frank Moussa. The 20-year-old signed a contract extension in the summer. Southend fans will be glad he did. Town boss Lee Clark rang the changes to get them back into the game, and it certainly had a galvanising effect. They pulled a goal back after 71 minutes through Anthony Pilkington, and the equaliser came 8 minutes later, scored by one substitute, Jordan Rhodes, after he was set up by another, Lee Novak. Rhodes is thought to be a hot prospect, likewise Huddersfield, who survived Michael Collins' late sending off without any scares.
Plenty of Yeovil fans out to greet the new Tranmere boss. John Barnes, always a popular figure, but a bit more popular in Somerset now than he'd like, as his managerial reign at Rovers began with a defeat. Dean Bowditch on his debut got the opening goal, and Tranmere's fate was sealed as Ryan Mason was upended right on the edge of the box. Inside in the ref's opinion, and Gavin Tomlin kept his nerve. A promising start for Yeovil, who hope to avoid last season's struggles.